educators. I'm Rupam Shah, founder and CEO of EduLead International, and I welcome you to INAC Power Talks. So, the topic of our discussion is differentiated instructions. So, let's see what do we want to achieve in this session. So, together we aim at exploring the concept of differentiated instructions, also enlisting the key differences in a traditional and a differentiated classroom. We'll also try to identify various ways by which differentiation can be done, and also understanding some strategies which are instrumental in integrating differentiated instructions in a regular classroom. So these are the things which we aim to achieve from today's session. Let's have a look at this graph. You can see that on the x-axis, there is skill, and on the y-axis, it's difficulty level. So now if I plot a point here, which means that the task which we are giving to the children is of high difficulty level, but the corresponding skill of the students is low. So consider in the class, we have given some task, but the task is really difficult and children are having low skill. Then in that case, what is that which the children would feel? So yes, they will not be comfortable doing that task, or maybe they are not interested because it is so difficult. So they'll feel misery or they'll feel anxious. Anxiety will be there. Now, if I plot a graph here where the skill level is high, but the difficulty level is low, which means that there are children inside the class who are at a high skill level, but the task which they're supposed to be doing is of low difficulty level. So what do you think these children are going to feel? They are definitely going to feel bored. They will not be interested again. Like the children over here who have low skill and are attempting high difficulty level task, they will not be interested or they will feel anxious. In the similar manner, even the people who are at a high skill level and are attempting a low difficulty level task, they'll feel bored, they'll not be interested. So obviously, both of these situations are not desirable. So what is the desirable situation? When do you think that your class will be in a flow? So when I'm saying that the class will be in a flow, which means that each and every student of the class is engaged, is learning, and and there is growth which is being seen in each and every student. Now, when is that possible? That is possible when we frame our task for the students in such a manner so that each and every student of the class is feeling the difficulty level to be just slightly above the skill level. Now, why the difficulty level should be slightly above the skill level? Because the person has to make an effort to reach there. Only when the effort is made, growth will be there. But the difference should not be too big, right? So which means that we have to do our planning in such a manner so that each and every student in the class is feeling that the task which is given to him or her is of slightly higher difficulty level as compared to the skill he or she possesses. So this is the basis of differentiated instruction. If we understand this and if we can design our class in such a manner, we will find that all the children in the class are going to be engaged. And that's the magic of using differentiated instructions inside the classroom. So now let's see what are differentiated instructions. So they are a set of unique decisions that the educators make to bring learning within the grasp of all the students. Please highlight this word because this word is very important. Bringing learning within the reach of all the students. This is important. So remember, this includes the students who are working on the grade level, above the grade level, or below the grade level. So we have to be taking care of all these students. And this, of course, is a thoughtful process. But unfortunately, some of the classroom structures, they do not address the student diversity. We know that inside our classroom, there are students who have diverse needs, they have diverse interests, they have diverse learning styles. But is this diversity addressed? Howard Gardner, who is the father of multiple intelligence, he said that the biggest mistake of the past centuries in teaching has been to treat all children as if they were variants of the same individual, and thus to feel justified in teaching them all the subjects in the same way. So we have to see that we just cannot go in for a whole class instruction, the same instruction for everybody. Why we can't do it? Because there is so much of diversity which is present in the class. So therefore, we have to take care of it in our planning itself. So let's just understand what is the basic difference between a traditional classroom and a differentiated classroom. So here, in a traditional classroom, differences are acted upon when problematic. We are talking about differences, here we are talking about diversity, right? So most of the time in our traditional classroom, when we get our results of half yearly or some tests and something, and we find that the children have not performed really well, that's the time we get up and see, okay, now let's see what is that which we have to do. So the differences, they are acted upon when the problem arises. But in a differentiated classroom, differences are the basis of planning. The teacher already knows her student and is actually planning on the basis of that, right? So differences over here are the basis of planning. Then in a traditional classroom, assessment is most common only at the end of learning, just to see who has got it. But in a differentiated classroom, you will find assessment is integral, it is ongoing, it is diagnostic, and it is something which drives the instruction. In a differentiated classroom, you will find assessment and instruction, they are inseparable. So from the assessment, the teacher finds out where my children are, what is the difficulty, and that is something which drives the instruction. The instructions are planned in such a manner so that there are assessments again, and the assessments are driving further instruction. So that's how. So assessment is ongoing and diagnostic to make the instruction more responsive to the learner's need. Instructions are created in such a manner. When I say instructions, I'm talking about the lesson planning, or I'm talking about the teaching learning activities which are integrated, right? So the instructions are made more responsive to the learner's needs. Then there is a relatively narrow sense of intelligence which prevails when we are talking about traditional classrooms. Largely we say some children are intelligent, some are not, some are average, and therefore, and that is it. There's nothing much which is done about it, right? So there's a very narrow sense of intelligence which is there. Either a person is intelligent or not intelligent. But in a differentiated classroom, there are multiple forms of intelligence which are evident. So the teacher designs the class in such a manner so that the various intelligences, you must be aware of all the different 8 intelligences, all the 8 intelligences are approached to, so that the students, if suppose they have dominant intelligence as linguistics, then in the planning there is something which is related to languages, so that the children get interested in the topic which is being taught. Similarly, about all the other intelligences. So here, the multiple forms of intelligence is something which is evident in a differentiated classroom. The teacher accounts for it when the planning is going on. Then the coverage of curriculum guides or drives the instruction. So here, mostly in a traditional classroom, the main focus is that syllabus needs to be covered. We need to finish the syllabus. That's the major focus. But in a differentiated classroom, the student readiness or the student's interest is something which is taken into account, not just the syllabus to be covered. Then in a traditional classroom, there is whole class instruction, but in a differentiated classroom, there are multiple instructional arrangements which are there. Not everybody is given the same instruction. In a traditional classroom, largely you will find that there is a single text which prevails, right? One textbook which is a Bible, and you don't go beyond that. But in a differentiated classroom, there are multiple resources which are used. There are multiple materials which are provided. So you can now understand what's the basic difference between a traditional and a differentiated classroom. Now with this knowledge, let us see how does a differentiated classroom look like. So in my differentiated classroom, everyone will feel welcome. When you will plan our activities in such a manner so that it addresses all your children, obviously everyone will feel welcome. Mutual respect will be non-negotiable. There will be a lot of good peer interaction which will take place, and there will be mutual respect. There is nobody who will be looking down upon somebody who is struggling in learning, right? So there is mutual respect. Students will feel physical, mental, and emotional safety. Why? Because everybody's need is being taken care of. Everybody is included inside the class. It's an inclusive classroom. Then there will be a pervasive expectation of growth. Everyone in the class is going to be growing. The teacher says, I will teach for success because in my class, everybody will feel that success. There will be a new sort of fairness which will be evident, and we will collaborate for mutual growth and success. So that's the kind of an environment which you create when you integrate differentiated classroom, or when you integrate differentiated instructions in your classroom. So this is a very nice slide. I really like it. We are for difference, for respecting difference, for valuing difference until difference no longer makes a difference. So let's begin and see what are the various ways by which differentiation can be done. So we can differentiate by objective, we can differentiate by success criteria, by activity, by level of support, by questioning, by time, by outcome, by role, by groupings, by resources. So many different ways by which differentiation can be done. Okay, so let's see each one of it. Differentiation by objective, which means that for your different level of learners, there is different objective. So say for example, we are teaching the children to write a sentence. So in that case, the objective for the low achiever could be, I can write a sentence. The objective for a middle achiever could be, I can write a sentence using an adjective. And for a higher achiever, the task becomes still harder. I can write a sentence using and to link two ideas. In all the cases, all the children are writing sentences, but for each one of them, the objective of writing the sentence is different. Another one is differentiate by success criteria. So here in this case, we are learning to write a character description. I hope you know what is success criteria. Success criteria is whenever you give a task to somebody, you tell them about what a successful task would look like. And so those characteristic features of the successful task, those are known as your success criteria. So we are learning to write a character description. Now, low achievers, I'm looking for capital letters, finger spaces, and full stops. So right now, in a character description for the low achievers, the major thing is that when they are writing the sentence, it has to begin with a capital letter, there has to be finger spaces, there has to be full stops. So these are the basics of writing, which is expected from them. From the middle achievers, I'm looking for super sentences and adventurous adjectives. For high achievers, I'm looking for super sentences which has a list of adventurous adjectives which is separated by a comma. So you can see over here that all of them are going to write the character description, but the success criteria for them are different.